Hey guys, tonight we're going somewhere gentle, somewhere slow, and a little bit magical. Before we start, just take a moment to arrive. You've had a whole day of being you out there in the world, answering messages, remembering passwords, pretending you know what you're doing in meetings, trying to decide what to eat even though food decisions should really come with a user manual. But now, this part of the day is yours. If you can, dim the lights a little. Let your phone be on silent, face down, like it's also taking a nap. Settle into whatever you're resting on, your bed, your couch, your designated "I'm done with everyone" corner, and just let your body sink a little deeper. You don't have to perform or fix or solve anything here. You're allowed to simply listen. You're allowed to drift. Tonight's story is called The Lantern Maker's Secret. It takes place in a quiet village where at night 1,000 soft lights bloom along the streets like tiny moons. There, a lantern maker creates something unusual. Lanterns that shine with people's forgotten hopes. And when you, in this story, receive a lantern that glows brighter than all the rest, you're gently nudged into a journey. Not through dark forests or terrifying quests, but through the softer, quieter rooms inside your own heart. This is a tale about inner light, rediscovery, and hope that doesn't come crashing in like fireworks, but returns softly at night, like a memory that finally feels safe to remember. While you listen, you don't have to stay awake. In fact, you're absolutely allowed to fall asleep halfway through a sentence. The story will keep going without you, like a kindly friend who keeps talking softly while you drift off, and doesn't take it personally when you stop replying. If you enjoy this kind of calm, sleepy storytelling, you can like, subscribe, or comment, but only if you really feel like it. No pressure. The algorithm gets enough attention already. For now, just breathe. In, slowly, and out, even slower. Let your jaw soften. Unclench your shoulders, even just by one notch. Let your hands rest where they are. And when you're ready, you can imagine yourself arriving in the story. In a small village that only truly wakes up when the sun goes down, you arrive at dusk. You don't remember exactly how you got there. Only that one moment you were in your normal life, with emails and errands, and that one plant you're trying not to kill. And the next, you are stepping onto a cobblestone street that feels like it's been waiting for you. The air is cool, but not cold, like a cup of tea that's reached the perfect temperature. You can smell wood smoke drifting lazily from chimneys, mingling with something sweeter in the air, like oranges and cinnamon, and the faintest hint of beeswax. Shops line the narrow street, each with their shutters opened like sleepy eyes. A bakery with golden loaves resting in the window. A tailor's shop with pieces of fabric hanging like captured sunsets. A little bookstore, its doorway framed by climbing ivy. The sign swinging gently with the words, "Stories for when you're not sure who you are today." Above you, the sky is still pale, that in-between color that can't decide whether it's blue or silver. The first star hasn't appeared yet. The world is holding its breath. And then, one by one, you notice the lanterns. They hang from doorways and eaves, from hooks along the street, and from thin wires strung like invisible spiderwebs from building to building. Some are round and soft, like moons made of paper. Others are tall and slender, like glass towers. Some are tiny, barely bigger than your hand, while others glow like friendly planets. They are not lit yet. They sway gently, empty and waiting. As you walk, Your footsteps create a soft, steady rhythm on the cobblestones. You feel that familiar sensation you sometimes get in dreams. The sense that you are both exploring a brand new place and returning somewhere you somehow remember. You pass a small fountain in the center of the square. Water trickles over worn stone, whispering in a language you don't quite understand, but feel you almost could if you listened long enough. A child dips a finger into the water and giggles at the cold. An older couple sits on a bench nearby, sharing a quiet conversation made of fragments and shared history. Then you see it. Tucked between the tailor's and the bookstore, there is a narrow shop that looks as though it might vanish if you blink for too long. Its door is painted a deep velvet blue, and above it hangs a small wooden sign, "The Lantern Maker." The letters curl softly, like smoke from a candle just blown out. The windows are fogged slightly from the inside, golden light pressing against the glass, as if eager to spill out into the street. You feel a gentle tug in your chest, an invitation, like the feeling of seeing a light on in your kitchen after a long day, and knowing someone remembered you were coming home. You step closer. On the door, there is a smaller sign, handwritten, "Lanterns mended, made, and remembered. Come in if something inside you feels a little dim." You pause with your hand on the doorknob, feeling that strange mix of curiosity and hesitation. A part of you wonders what exactly counts as a little dim. But something deeper, quieter, already knows you qualify. You turn the knob and step inside. The first thing you notice is the light. It's not bright, not harsh, not the kind that makes you squint. It's soft, like the inside of a seashell, or the glow under a blanket when you used to read after bedtime and pretend you were definitely asleep if anyone walked past. Lanterns are everywhere. They hang from the beams of the ceiling in uneven clusters, rest on shelves in lazy rows, and sit on the floor in careful, glowing islands. Each of them shines with its own color and warmth: pale gold, gentle green, soft violet, a blue that looks like the sky just before the stars show up. Some flicker like laughter, others burn steadily like loyalty. Some seem to pulse with a very slow heartbeat. You step further in, your eyes adjusting, and you realize the shop is much bigger on the inside than it appeared from the street. It stretches back into long, shadowed aisles, lined with shelves, like a library that traded books for light. The air smells of melted wax, old wood, and a quiet note of something citrusy and comforting. In the corner, a kettle simmers on a small iron stove, sending up little clouds of steam that curl around a row of tiny, teacup-sized lanterns. "Careful there," a voice says, warm and amused. "The small ones are shy. They go out if you stare at them too directly." You turn. Behind a well-worn wooden counter stands an older man in a linen shirt, sleeves rolled up, apron dusted with something that looks like glittering ash. His hair is mostly silver, with a few remaining dark streaks, like the last threads of night in early morning. His eyes are kind, the kind that have seen a lot of people cry and didn't get scared off. He's holding a delicate glass frame in one hand and a small brush in the other. On the counter in front of him sits a lantern with a cracked pane, its light leaking out in a shy, uneven glow. "Sorry," you say automatically, though you're not sure what you're apologizing for. Existing, maybe. He chuckles softly. People always apologize when the room is too beautiful for them to process. He sets the brush down and wipes his hands on his apron, then nods toward you. "Come on then. Let me see you properly." You step closer. The floor creaks, the lanterns sway, and one small lantern near your elbow brightens briefly, as if excited. The lantern maker studies you, not in the way someone judges your outfit or your posture, but like he's listening for a song only he can hear. "There you are," he says finally, as if confirming something. "Long day?" You let out a small, huffing laugh that feels too honest. "Long, few years, actually." He nods as if that makes complete sense. Most people who find their way here say something like that. He gestures vaguely around the shop. "Welcome. I make lanterns. I mend them. I mind them when people think they no longer need them, but aren't quite ready to let them go. And, on rare occasions, I give one away." You glance around, taking in all the glowing shapes. "They're beautiful," you say. "But there are lantern shops in my world, too." He smiles, slow and knowing. "Yes, but not like these." As if in response, several lanterns brighten just a little, their light shimmering more clearly. One nearby flickers in a soft rose gold, casting a gentle warmth over your hands. "These," he says, "are made of hopes, forgotten ones, misplaced ones, the ones people decided were unrealistic, because someone with a very serious expression told them so." You blink. "Hopes." He nods. "Every lantern holds a hope someone tried to bury, or a wish they pushed away because life got loud and practical." He tilts his head, regarding you with an almost playful curiosity. "And you, it seems, have one that refuses to stay buried." You feel a small tightening in your chest, like a drawer you haven't opened in years, suddenly rattling on its own. "I don't remember any particular hope," you say, though the defensiveness in your voice gives you away. "Of course you don't," he says gently. "You're tired. Tired people forget how brightly they used to shine." He slides open a drawer beneath the counter, rummaging through what sounds like glass and metal, softly clinking together. "But your lantern remembers, and it's been waiting." He looks up at you, his eyes warm, steady, almost amused. "Would you like to see it?" You hesitate. Not because you're afraid exactly, but because something in you tightens at the thought of seeing a hope you might have abandoned. It feels a bit like opening an old box in the attic, the one you've labeled someday, but haven't touched since you put it there. Still, curiosity nudges you forward. Curiosity and something softer, something that feels like the gentle press of a memory against a locked door. "Yes," you say quietly. "I think I would." The lantern maker nods as though he expected nothing else. He closes the drawer, brushes the dust from his hands, and walks around the counter. His movements are slow, unhurried, as if time bends politely around him. "Follow me," he says, his voice carrying the weight of someone guiding you through a ritual older than the village itself. You walk behind him down a narrow aisle between shelves. Lanterns glow on either side, illuminating your path with soft flickers, some warm, some cool, some shimmering like moonlit water. As you pass, a few brighten briefly, as if acknowledging you. This place, the lantern maker says, is built on something simple. Every person carries light, but some forget how to tend it. When that happens, their hope slips away, searching for a place to keep safe until they're ready. And it ends up here, you ask. He smiles over his shoulder. Often. Sometimes it ends up in a song, or an old photograph, or a dream you keep having but don't remember after waking. But for the brightest ones, the ones people tried the hardest to forget, it ends up here. You turn a corner and enter a wider room. Here, the lanterns are different. They hang higher, and their light is softer, more private, as if each one is holding its breath. These, he says, are unclaimed lanterns, waiting for the right hands. Your gaze drifts upward, drawn to a soft pulse of white gold near the back wall. It's subtle, gentle, not attention-seeking, more like the glow of a candle in a quiet room. And yet it feels familiar, not familiar like déjà vu, familiar like something from childhood you didn't know you remembered. "What is that one?" you ask, pointing. The lantern maker's eyes follow your gesture. He gives a small nod, as if confirming a suspicion. "That," he says softly, "is yours." Something warm expands in your chest, almost uncomfortable in its tenderness. You step toward it, guided by an instinct deeper than memory. The lantern is made of glass panels joined by delicate metal lines. Nothing ornate, nothing extravagant. Just simple craftsmanship, honest and luminous. Inside, the light shifts in slow swirls, like milk stirred into tea. When you reach out, your fingers hover just above the surface, and the lantern brightens. Not blindingly, not dramatically, just enough for your breath to catch in your throat. "It knows you," the lantern maker murmurs. "It has been waiting a long time." You let your fingertips brush the glass. It's warm, warmer than you expected, like holding someone's hand. A feeling washes over you, something like nostalgia, something like longing, something like an exhale you didn't realize you'd been holding for years. But there's no image, no memory, no clear explanation attached, just a quiet weight of meaning that refuses to translate itself yet. "What was the hope?" you whisper. "What did I forget?" The lantern maker steps beside you, folding his arms gently. "That," he says, "is the part you must remember yourself." Your hand stays on the lantern, its warmth settling into your skin like a promise you once made. "But the lantern can guide you," he adds, "if you're willing to follow it." You glance at him, searching his expression for clues, for comfort, maybe for permission, but all he gives you is a small, kind smile, the sort someone gives you right before you learn something important. "Take it," he says. "It won't break. It's made of hope, after all, and hope is stubborn." You lift the lantern gently. It feels lighter than it looks, and yet heavier in meaning than anything you've touched in a long time. The lantern rests easily in your hands, the warmth spreading slowly into your palms, your wrists, your chest. You feel it, not physically, but emotionally, like the way a remembered melody can hum through your entire body. You look at the lantern maker. "What do I do now?" He gives a small shrug. "Walk," he says simply. "Lanterns always know where they want to go." "That's helpful," you say, half amused. "Helpful enough," he replies. "Besides, if I told you everything, you'd miss the fun part." You raise an eyebrow. "Is this supposed to be fun?" "Self-discovery," he says. "Occasionally. And when it's not, at least it's interesting." You huff a quiet laugh, and it surprises you how natural it feels, as though the lantern is brightening something inside you already, loosening knots you hadn't noticed. You look down at it again. The swirling light inside shifts slowly, like it's breathing. The glow reflects in your eyes, softening your features, and for a moment you catch a glimpse of yourself that you haven't seen in a while. Someone a little more open, a little more curious, a little less weighed down. The lantern maker gestures toward the door. "Go on then, before it starts getting impatient." You blink. "Lanterns get impatient?" "Oh, absolutely," he says solemnly, "especially the good ones." Then, with a wink, "But it shows differently in each. Yours? It gets brighter when you dawdle." You glance at the lantern. Sure enough, The glow intensifies just the tiniest bit, like a nudge. Okay, okay, you murmur to it. I'm moving. When you turn toward the door, the lantern maker calls after you. And remember, what you're looking for isn't lost, just quiet. You nod, not entirely understanding, but carrying the words with you anyway. As you step outside, the sky has deepened into a soft blue, and the first star twinkles faintly. The smell of wood smoke drifts through the air. The village seems quieter now, almost listening. Lanterns along the street are beginning to glow, one by one, lighting up like tiny, warm constellations. The light from your lantern mingles with theirs, brighter, more vibrant. You take a step forward. Your lantern brightens. Another step, another soft pulse of light. It's guiding you, not tugging, not pulling, just glowing a little more when you're pointed in the right direction. You walk down the cobblestone street, feeling the cool evening air on your arms, the warm glow of your lantern casting gentle shapes across the stones. As you reach the village square, something shifts. The fountain seems quieter, the breeze softer, the lanterns above you swaying in slow, almost rhythmic unison. Your lantern glows stronger when you turn toward the path leading out of the square. So you follow. Down a narrow lane lined with climbing vines, past a shuttered shop with a sign that reads, "Moonlit Remedies," and toward a small wooden gate you could have sworn wasn't there earlier. The lantern brightens again, almost expectantly. You push open the gate, the hinges creaking softly, and step into a small garden lit only by fireflies, and your lanterns glow. The moment you enter, you feel something shift inside your chest, a quiet recognition. You've never been here before, and yet something in you whispers, yes. The lantern warms in your hands. The garden is small but lush, enclosed on all sides by a fence draped with climbing flowers. Their petals catch the lantern light, glowing faintly like stained glass. A stone path winds gently through patches of herbs, soft moss, and sleepy blooms that open only at night. The air is cooler here, but calm, still in a way that feels intentional, almost sacred. Your lantern brightens again, casting warm gold across your shoes as though guiding your gaze. You follow its light to a small wooden bench near the back of the garden. It's worn smooth, edges rounded not by design, but by years of being sat on, leaned against, trusted. Something about it feels familiar, unreasonably familiar, like you once sat here in a dream you forgot upon waking. When you approach, the lantern warms even more. Not hot, never burning, just warm like comfort, like recognition, like an old friend's hand resting gently over yours. You sit slowly, adjusting the lantern onto your lap. The moment you settle, the garden seems to hold its breath. Even the fireflies hover more still, as though waiting. You run a thumb along the lantern's metal frame. Its glow deepens to a softer, steadier gold. "What are you trying to show me?" you whisper. For a moment, it doesn't respond, at least not in any way you can see. But the warmth in your hands increases, spreading through your chest, your shoulders, your face. And then something soft and subtle stirs inside the lantern. A shimmer, a flicker, a small blooming of light. Shapes form, slowly, like watercolor spreading across paper. Not clear images, not full memories, more like impressions. A room, a window, a desk. The feeling of wanting something deeply, not something grand, something simple, something you. You lean forward slightly, breath slow. The lantern's light swirls again, more confidently this time. Warm gold deepens into honeyed amber. Shapes sharpen just a little. You see a pair of hands, Your hands, but smaller, younger, holding a pencil, moving across a page, writing, drawing, dreaming. The image fades, then returns as a soft echo. There's no sound, but you can almost feel it. The quiet excitement of creating something that mattered to you, not to anyone else, just to you. The lantern pulses gently. You swallow. Your throat tightens, not painfully, but with the tender ache of remembering something precious. I used to, you murmur, but the words trail off. The lantern waits, patient, warm. You take a slow breath. I used to dream, you whisper, about things I never told anyone, things I wanted to make, to create. The lantern glows brighter, soft, encouraging. And I forgot, you add quietly. Or, I convinced myself it didn't matter anymore. The warmth deepens, a gentle reassurance. Maybe it's your imagination, maybe it's magic. But the lantern feels like it's saying, it mattered. It still matters. And I waited. You close your eyes, letting the warmth rest against your chest like a heartbeat. The garden stays quiet, holding space for you, for the memory, for the small, rediscovered truth blooming inside you like a lantern of your own. The night feels softer. The air feels kinder. And for the first time in a long while, something inside you glows. You sit on the bench for a long moment, lantern warm on your lap, eyes still half closed from the weight of what you just remembered, or almost remembered, because it still isn't fully there, not the whole picture, just a soft outline of who you used to be, who you quietly still are, beneath all the responsibilities and practical decisions and grown-up compromises you've collected over the years, like mismatched socks. The air in the garden shifts slightly. A breeze moves through the flowers, and their petals rustle with a sound like whispered encouragement. The piece of sky above the fence is growing darker, deepening into indigo. A few early stars blink into view, not yet committing to full brightness, as if warming up. Your lantern glows steadily, no longer pulsing urgently, more like it's satisfied you've taken the first step. But there is a tug, not physical, but emotional, a gentle nudge from somewhere inside the light. A suggestion. Stand up now. There's more to see. So you do. You hold the lantern in both hands, feeling its warmth deepen as you rise. The moment your feet touch the path again, the glow brightens, not dramatically, not like a spotlight, just a little more certain, like it knows the way. Okay, you whisper. Lead on. The lantern glows again, approving. As you move through the garden, the fireflies gather in a loose, drifting cluster around you, escorting you like sleepy little guardians. They bob in slow arcs, trailing soft specks of gold that fade almost immediately. You step lightly onto the stone path, and the lantern guides you toward a small archway, framed with vines. The arch leads back toward the village, but something's different now. The air hums faintly. The lanterns in the streets glow warmer. People move more slowly, as if they've softened since the last time you saw them. You step through the arch, and the street greets you like a familiar friend. A couple strolls at a distance, their hands brushing. A baker closes his shop, humming a tune that sounds like something you once knew. The tailor flips her sign to resting, her lantern glowing a soft, steady blue beside the door. And something curious happens as you walk. People glance at your lantern. They notice its glow. And some smile, small, knowing smiles, as if they recognize what you're carrying, or remember when they carried their own. You continue down the street, following the lantern's subtle pull. With each step, your breath becomes steadier. Your shoulders loosen. The knots inside you unravel, stitch by tiny stitch. The lantern flickers with a soft shimmer, guiding you toward the far end of the village, a place less busy, quieter. The cobblestones there are older, smoothed by time. A gentle mist rolls across the ground, hugging the street like a blanket the night laid out for you. When you reach the edge of the village, you find something you didn't expect. A wooden bridge, just wide enough for one person, leading into a willow-lined path that winds into the dark. The lantern glows strongly. Of course, you say under your breath, the mysterious path. Classic. But there's no fear. Not tonight. Not with this warm light in your hands. You take your first step onto the bridge, and the moment your foot touches the wood, your lantern brightens, not with urgency, but with welcome, as if saying, "You're doing beautifully. Keep going." The wooden planks creak softly beneath your feet, not in a threatening way, but in that, "I've been here for decades, but I'm doing my best" kind of way. The bridge is old, but reliable, the kind of structure built by someone who cared more about kindness than precision. Your lantern throws warm light over the railing, illuminating the soft mist rolling below. You lean slightly to look down, expecting water, but there is none. Only fog. Fog so thick, it looks like satin sheets gathered into gentle folds. The moment you reach the far end of the bridge, the world becomes quieter. Not silent, just hushed, as if the air itself is listening. A narrow path stretches ahead. It winds gently between tall willow trees, their long branches trailing near the ground, like curtains of silver green. When your lantern light touches them, the leaves glow faintly. The path feels half enchanted, half forgotten, the kind of place that doesn't show itself to just anyone. You walk slowly, listening to the soft rustle of the willow leaves. Occasionally, a small creature darts across the path. Nothing alarming, just a puff of movement, like a shadow that remembered it has somewhere to be. Your lantern grows warmer in your hands. You feel it again, that gentle tug, that invitation forward, not rushing, just guiding. "What else do you want to show me?" you ask softly. Immediately, the lantern flickers with a soft, encouraging brightness. You continue until the path widens into a small clearing. The ground here is covered in moss so thick it looks like velvet. Fireflies hover lazily in the branches above, blinking on and off like sleepy thoughts. At the center of the clearing sits a small stone well. Its surface is cracked with age, vines curling lovingly around its base. A wooden bucket rests beside it, though the rope has long since frayed. Your lantern brightens. "Oh," you whisper. "Here." The lantern responds with a steady glow. You step closer. Something about the well feels significant, not ominous, not dangerous, just important. You peer inside, but instead of darkness, you see faint light, not from your lantern, from the well itself. A soft glimmer, like moonlight reflecting on calm water. You kneel beside the well, your lantern pressed gently to the rim. The light from within rises slowly, swirling with pale silver and soft gold. You inhale, and something stirs inside you in response. Not a memory, more like a feeling you haven't let yourself feel in years. Possibility, but fragile, quiet, like a shy creature that flees if startled. The light inside the well shifts, forming soft shapes, a hand, a page, a tiny spark, and the sensation of wanting. The lantern in your hands warms more deeply, as if urging you to look closer. So you do. You lean over the rim, and in the glowing water below, you see yourself. Not as you are now, but younger, brighter, eyes wide with a kind of hope You don't allow yourself anymore. They are writing, drawing, dreaming, hoping, and that hope glows in their hands like a small fire. You exhale shakily. Your throat tightens again. The well's light shifts, forming an echo of a whisper, not words but intent. You left this behind, but you can take it back. Your lantern flares softly in agreement. Your breath trembles at the edges, not in fear, but with the tenderness of rediscovery, a feeling that is almost too delicate to touch. You brace your hands on the stone rim of the well, grounding yourself as the memory image below shimmers and sways like light on water. The younger you gazes up, not at you, not directly, but toward the surface, toward imagination itself. Their hands continue moving, writing something with intensity, sketching out a dream with a certainty you used to have. The sight sends a ripple through your chest, soft but undeniable. You stay there, kneeling at the well, letting the truth seep into you slowly. You didn't lose this part of yourself. You shelved it, packed it carefully into the attic of your mind, buried it under responsibilities, obligations, schedules, grown-up priorities, and the endless loop of maybe later. Yet here it is, waiting patiently, unfaded. You glance down at your lantern. Its glow is richer now, as if it's absorbed some of the well's silver-gold shimmer. The light is no longer swirling aimlessly. It moves with shape, intention, almost like a quiet heartbeat. You run your fingers along its frame. I remember wanting, you whisper. Your voice shakes, but gently. I remember wishing for things, big things, beautiful things, things I told myself were too good for me. The lantern warms, a soft, comforting reassurance. You turn back to the well. The image of the younger you fades into ripples of light, as if encouraging you to take the next step instead of getting lost in what was. What do I do? You ask, not to anyone in particular. But the lantern answers, not with words, with guidance. Its glow extends toward the water, casting golden patterns across the stone. The well glimmers brighter, forming a soft path of light upward, toward your hands. The meaning is clear. Take it, reclaim it. Heart steadying, you lower the lantern toward the light. The glow within the well rises to meet it, curling upward like mist, gathering into a shimmering thread of silver gold. When the thread touches your lantern, your breath catches. The lantern brightens with sudden, gentle brilliance. Not blinding, not overwhelming, just whole. A soft warmth pours into your chest, a quiet certainty, like a puzzle piece settling into the exact place it always belonged. The well dims. The image fades. But the light inside your lantern remains strong, steady, almost joyful. You sit back slowly, the moss soft beneath you. The night wraps around you, calm and patient. It feels like something is settling inside you, an old part returning, fitting itself into the present version of you with surprising ease. You hold the lantern close. Its warmth feels like truth. Its glow feels like permission. Its presence feels like a promise. The willows sway gently overhead, as if nodding in approval. Fireflies drift in slow spirals, mirroring the lantern's pulse. You rise to your feet, lantern in hand. The path behind you glows faintly now, as if lit by the memory you just reclaimed. You take a step forward. Your lantern brightens, as if whispering, "There's more to remember." And I will guide you. You stand there for a while longer, just breathing. The night feels like a blanket laid gently over your shoulders. Not heavy, just present, protective. The lantern in your hands has settled into a steady glow, no longer flickering, no longer searching. It feels sure of itself now, as though absorbing that fragment from the well has given it a clearer sense of purpose. Maybe it's done what it came for in this quiet clearing, or maybe this is just the first layer. Either way, there's a new feeling in you, a little more space, a little less tightness. You take a slow inhale, the cool air filling your lungs. The scent of moss, willow leaves, and faint water clings to the air. On the exhale, you feel something intangible loosen, like an invisible knot untangling somewhere behind your ribs. "All right," you murmur softly to the lantern. "Where to now?" The lantern answers in the only way it knows how. It grows a fraction brighter, casting a warm cone of light toward the path leading out of the clearing. The way you came is gently illuminated, inviting you to walk it again, but this time, a little different. You leave the well behind, not abandoned, but quieter, its purpose fulfilled for now. The willow branches sway above you, brushing against one another with a sound like someone flipping through pages of a very gentle book. The fireflies follow at a distance, small guardians who don't need to be close to, still be watching. As you walk, your thoughts drift. You think about how easily you decided, somewhere along the way, that practical and hopeful were mutually exclusive. Like you had to choose between paying bills and having a soul, between being responsible and wanting beautiful things. You almost laugh at yourself, because when you frame it like that, it sounds ridiculous. The lantern seems to agree, its glow pulsing faintly in amused solidarity. There's a little voice in your head, the familiar one, the efficient one, that says, "This is nice, but you still have things to do, you know. Tasks, obligations. You can't just follow glowing metaphors around a magical village forever." You smile wryly. "I know," you tell the voice, "but maybe I can do both. Tasks and light, obligations and a me that remembers what I wanted." Your lantern glows warmer at that. The path curves gently, leading you back toward the bridge. When you step onto the wooden planks again, the mist below seems thinner than before. You can almost make out shapes within it, ripples of reflected light, like distant memories you might visit someday, but not tonight. On the far side of the bridge, the village lights welcome you back. The lanterns hanging from shop fronts and doorways seem brighter now, casting soft pools of gold on the cobblestones. You get the feeling the whole place knows where you've been and is quietly proud of you for going there. As you move along the street, your lantern interacts with the others. When you pass a modest, bluish lantern in front of the tailor's shop, your own glow warms and deepens, as if sharing something silently. The tailor herself stands in the doorway, closing up for the night. She glances at your lantern, smiles knowingly, and gives you a small nod. No words, but the message is clear. You're not the only one rediscovering something. Further down the road, a young man sits on a stoop with a small, flickering lantern at his feet. He looks tired, the kind of tired that sits in the bones. Your lantern brightens briefly as you pass, and his lantern responds, its tiny flame steadier for just a moment. The young man glances up in mild surprise, like someone feeling a sudden breeze on a still day. You don't stop or explain. You don't have to. You keep walking, led by your lantern's gentle warmth, until it guides you to something new. A house. Simple, quiet, set a little apart from the rest. Its windows glow with a soft, warm light, the kind that says, "Someone is home," and it might just be you. Your lantern brightens, clearly pleased. You've never seen this house before. And yet, there's that feeling again. Recognition. as if you're standing at the threshold of a version of your life you once imagined and then put aside for later. You walk up to the door. Your lantern's glow swells like a held breath. You stand in front of the door for a long moment, lantern in hand, feeling the quiet weight of possibility on your shoulders. The wood is a gentle, weathered brown, worn smooth around the handle, like it has been opened and closed 1,000 times by someone who trusted it. Above the door hangs a tiny lantern, barely the size of your fist. Its light is soft, patient. When your own lantern comes close, the tiny one brightens as if in recognition, like two distant relatives finding each other at a family reunion and quietly agreeing not to talk about the awkward years. You swallow, your hand hovering over the handle. What if I don't like what I see? You murmur without meaning to. Your lantern warms, not hotter, just deeper. It feels like an answer. You will survive what you see. And you're already living with it anyway. A small laugh escapes you, quiet and breathy. Fair enough. You wrap your fingers around the handle and push the door open. It doesn't creak, it simply yields. Inside, the first thing you notice is the softness, not of any one object, but of the whole atmosphere. This is not a palace, not a fantasy castle, not an aspirational social media house where nothing ever looks used. This space feels lived in, gently imperfect, warm in the way of piled blankets and half-finished mugs of tea. Your lantern's glow blends with the room's light, enriching it. The entrance opens into a cozy main room. On one side, a small table with mismatched chairs, a notebook lying open, a pen resting diagonally across the page, as though you stepped away, mid-thought. On the other side, a worn but welcoming armchair, a blanket draped over one side, a book face down on the arm, as if expecting you back any minute. There are shelves, not perfectly organized but lovingly used, stacks of papers, some curled with age, jars of pens and pencils, some sharpened, some blunt. Your lantern brightens when you look at the shelves, then at the table. You step toward the open notebook. The pages are filled with your handwriting. Some lines are neat, others messy, as if you wrote them in a hurry before the courage to write them faded. You skim a few lines. A fragment of a story here. An idea for a project there. Snippets of thoughts you had once, about what you wanted to build in the world, however small, however personal. Some entries are crossed out. Others end mid-sentence. A few pages are blank, waiting. And yet, as you turn the pages, what strikes you isn't failure. It's continuity. You didn't stop wanting. You simply got interrupted. Life knocked, loudly and often. And hope, being polite, stepped back. Your lantern warms as if to say, see? You never really abandoned this. You just convinced yourself you had more important things to do. You let your fingers rest on the page. The ink is dry, but the feeling behind it is still alive. A gentle peace settles in your chest. You're not angry with the version of you who stopped. You understand them. They were tired. They were scared. They were trying their best with what they knew then. You lift your gaze and notice another doorway at the far end of the room, faintly outlined by your lantern's glow. It leads to a smaller side room. Your lantern nudges you toward it with a soft swell of light. More? You ask, half smiling. The lantern glows, which you now interpret as an enthusiastic yes. You step through the doorway. Inside, you find a room that feels like a cross between a studio and a sanctuary. A desk near the window, bathed in gentle light as if the sun and moon have a shared custody arrangement. A pinboard on the wall, covered with little pieces of you. ticket stubs, tiny notes, a doodle of a lantern, drawn years before you ever stepped into the lantern maker's shop. You feel a hum of recognition, deep and steady. This isn't just a fantasy. This is a map of what matters to you. Not the version marketed, polished, or optimized. The real one. And your lantern has brought you back to it. You stand in the doorway of that small room for a while, lantern light mingling with the softer glow already there. It feels almost intrusive to step in, as if you're entering the workspace of a version of yourself who was braver with their dreams. But then you realize that version isn't gone. They're simply quieter now, waiting for you to return the conversation. You step inside. Up close, the desk is cluttered in a way that makes sense. A quiet, organized chaos. There are notebooks stacked, some with edges worn and pages peeking out. A few sticky notes rest against a jar of pens, bearing half-finished ideas like, maybe a story about a person who... And remember how it felt the first time you realized you could choose differently. You smile. It's a little painful, but in a good way, like stretching a limb that's been stiff for too long. Your lantern brightens, casting warm reflections over the desk. In its glow, the scribbles and fragments look less like abandoned attempts and more like seeds. Waiting, patient, but not resentful. You let your hand drift to a small object near the edge of the desk. A tiny figurine of a lantern, carved roughly from wood. The details aren't perfect, but the intention is clear. Really, you murmur, amused. Even back then. You can't remember carving it, but you know you did. That quiet part of you knew something about light, even before you could name it. Your lantern warms in your hand, like it's laughing gently with you. And then, out of the corner of your eye, you notice something else. A mirror. It hangs on the wall opposite the desk. Not large, not ornate. Just a simple framed mirror, the glass slightly aged, softening reflections rather than sharpening them. You turn slowly to face it. Your lantern's glow wraps around your reflection, bathing you in gold. For a moment, you almost don't recognize yourself. Not because you look different, but because you're seeing yourself with kinder eyes. You study the lines of your face, the marks of all the days you've lived, the subtle signs of laughter, the echoes of worry. You realize something. You always thought your hope and your responsibilities were at war. But looking at yourself now, lantern in hand, standing in this inner room, you see that they're made of the same material. The same person who shows up for work, remembers birthdays, and answers emails, is the one who once sat at that desk, scribbling ideas into notebooks and carving tiny lanterns out of scraps of wood. It was never a choice between them. It was always about integration, letting the hopeful part of you sit beside the practical part, not behind it. Your reflection softens as this truth sinks in. The lantern in your hands brightens, and for a second, your features glow as if lit from within. You look like someone who's just remembered a password to an old account, filled with forgotten treasure. Not a different person, just more whole. You take a slow breath, and as you do, something shifts. The room around you doesn't vanish, doesn't collapse. It simply becomes transparent at the edges. You can still see the desk, the notes, the mirror, but also, faintly, the village outside, the cobblestone streets, the lanterns swinging gently in the night. You realize this place, the house, the room, the desk, isn't somewhere separate from your life. It's inside it. A room you can return to whenever you remember how. Your lantern pulses gently, as if confirming the thought. You step back toward the doorway. The room remains steady and waiting, like an open tab in the browser of your mind. You don't need to keep staring at it for it to stay. As you cross into the main room of the house again, you feel lighter. Not because anything outside you has changed, but because something inside you has. You move to the front door and open it. The village night meets you kindly. Lanterns glow along the street. Somewhere, someone laughs softly. You step outside, lantern in hand, feeling its weight as something new now. Not just a mystery, not just an artifact of a forgotten hope, but a quiet promise that you can carry this light back with you, into mornings, emails, errands, conversations, into the ordinary fabric of your days. And as you take your first step back into the lantern-lit street, your lantern brightens once more, as if whispering, "Good, you're ready for the next part." The night greets you with a soft hush as you step back onto the village street. It feels different now, not because the world has changed, but because you have. The lantern in your hands hums with a gentle glow, warm and steady, like a heartbeat you had forgotten belonged to you. The village is quieter at this hour. Shops are closed, their lanterns dimmed to soft glimmers. The cobblestones reflect faint light, making the street look like a path of stars that decided to sit down for the evening. Your lantern seems to know exactly where it wants to go next. It doesn't pull or tug. It simply brightens slightly when you face the right direction and softens when you wander off course. It's the gentlest guide you've ever had. You let your feet move at a slow, unhurried pace. The cool night air brushes your face, carrying the scent of baking bread that has long since cooled, and something herbal, lavender perhaps, drifting from a nearby windowsill. As you walk, the lanterns overhead sway lightly in the breeze, as if bowing to you in greeting. You pass the fountain again. The water whispers quietly, reflecting small stars and one warm glow. You round a corner you don't remember turning before. The lantern brightens. Here, the village opens into a smaller square you haven't seen yet. Instead of shops and inns, it is lined with little workspaces, craftsmen's nooks, studios, hidden corners filled with tools and quiet devotion. Each workspace has its own lantern hanging above the door, casting unique patterns on the stone below. Your lantern pulses once, a soft, gentle nudge, and then you see it. A small workshop at the far end of the square. Its lantern glows a warm amber, slightly brighter than the others, as if excited. The door is slightly open, revealing a sliver of golden light from inside. You hesitate. "Here," you whisper. Your lantern answers with a warm, shimmering pulse. "Yes." You walk toward the workshop. Each step feels like peeling back another layer of something you didn't realize you'd been carrying. Hesitation, fear, old stories about what you're allowed to pursue. You grip the lantern a little tighter. When you reach the door, you push it gently with your fingertips. It swings open without resistance, revealing a room that smells of wood, paper, ink, and possibility. You step inside, and instantly you freeze, because this workshop looks way too familiar. Not familiar like déjà vu, familiar like you dreamed of this exact place years ago and forgot about it until this moment. There's a long wooden table in the center, covered with tools, brushes, scraps of paper, and little glass pieces. Shelves line the walls, filled with jars of color pigments, bits of metal, wax, string, and shapes waiting to become things. But the thing that makes your breath catch is this. In the corner of the room stands a half-finished lantern. Not made by the lantern maker, not crafted by anyone else, but unmistakably shaped, like the designs you used to draw. You walk toward it slowly, your heart thumping with a soft ache. The frame is familiar, not perfect, not symmetrical, but creative in a way that feels like you. The glass panels don't match, each a slightly different shape, but they fit together like puzzle pieces that decided they were meant to be friends. And the metalwork around the edges is detailed with tiny swirls, like the doodles you used to fill margins with. You place your hand gently on the lantern's side. Your lantern, the one you've been carrying, brightens in response, illuminating the half-finished creation with warm gold. You realize something with a soft, shocked inhale. You didn't just lose a hope. You abandoned a craft, a joy, a piece of artistry you once believed you'd grow into. This workshop isn't someone else's. It's yours. Not physically, not literally, but symbolically. A room built from all your unfinished dreams, your unlived passions, your one-days. The lantern in your hands warms deeply, resonating with the half-finished lantern in front of you, like two parts of a story that finally found each other. You whisper, "I remember this. I used to imagine making things like this. I just never thought I could." A soft sound comes from the doorway behind you, a creak of wood, a shift of air. You turn, and there stands the lantern maker. He leans casually against the doorframe, arms folded loosely. His expression isn't stern or disappointed. It's gentle, like he's been waiting for you to discover something important on your own. "You found it," he says softly. You swallow. "What is this place?" He steps forward slowly, hands in his apron pockets, eyes glimmering with quiet pride. "This," he says, "is the room that appears only when someone is ready to see what they once left behind. Not to mourn it, but to pick it up again." You turn back toward the half-finished lantern. The light from your own lantern reflects off the glass panels, casting uneven but beautiful patterns across the workshop. "I thought," you begin, voice catching, "I thought I gave up on this years ago." "You did," the lantern maker says mildly, "but giving up isn't the same as losing. Some dreams don't vanish. They simply wait for you to catch up." You feel your throat tighten, not with pain, but with emotion that has been waiting for air. "How long has this been here?" you ask. "As long as you have been dreaming," he replies, "and as long as you have been hiding from it." You exhale shakily. The lantern he helped you find, the one glowing warmly in your hands, shines brighter now, casting gold over both of you. The lantern maker steps beside you and studies the half-finished lantern with an expert's eye. "You had good instincts," he says. "You always did." You blink. "Always." He gives you a soft smile. You think this is the first time you've been in a place like this. You forget. Your imagination has been crafting rooms like this since you were small. Your heart stirs. You remember faint images, childhood scribbles, doodles of lanterns, sketches of impossible objects that glowed in the margins of notebooks. Things you were once brave enough to imagine. "You were never meant to stop creating," he says quietly. "You simply got busy surviving." You lower your gaze. It feels too late. The lantern maker raises an eyebrow. "Most of the best things happen too late." That's when people finally stop rushing and start listening. Your lantern pulses warmly in agreement. He gestures toward the half-finished lantern on the table. "Go on," he says. "Touch it." You hesitate for only a moment before reaching out. Your fingertips barely graze the metal frame, and the lantern responds. A soft glow flickers inside its empty center. Weak at first, then stronger, and stronger still. Your lantern brightens in tandem, as if feeding it the light it has recovered from the well. You gasp softly. "It's waking up," The lantern maker murmurs, watching with a fond smile. But I didn't finish it, you say. He shakes his head. You don't have to finish something for it to matter. You just have to come back to it. The half-finished lantern glows brighter, reflecting warm hues across the workshop walls. The room feels alive now, like every tool, every scrap, every note is exhaling with relief. You realize something deep and quiet. Hope isn't about perfection, or completion, or even success. It's about return. Your lantern pulses one more time, warm and certain. You turn to the lantern maker. What now? He nods toward the door. You take the light with you, he says softly, and you see where it leads next. You step into the village square again, the lantern maker at your side. The night has deepened, the sky now a velvet canvas dotted with more stars than you remember seeing in years. Your lantern glows steadily, and beside it, the half-finished lantern in the workshop continues to shine from within, as though something in it has been reawakened, a light that mirrors your own rekindled hope. The lantern maker walks with you only to the edge of the square. There, he stops, hands folded gently in front of him. This part, he says, you walk alone. You feel a ripple of fear, but a stronger ripple of readiness. The lantern in your hands brightens, warm, confident, assured. You look up at the lantern maker. Will I see you again? He smiles, kind and soft. Whenever your hope needs mending, he says, but I suspect you'll learn to mend it on your own. You let out a quiet breath, half laugh, half sigh. He steps back into the shadows of the square, and the lanterns all around dim slightly, as if bowing in silent farewell. You lift your lantern. Its glow stretches down a new path, one you haven't walked yet. Not the bridge, not the garden, not the tailor's street, but a road leading gently upward toward the hillside beyond the village. You take your first step. Your lantern brightens, and the night opens for you once more. The path leading up the hillside is narrow but welcoming, bordered by low stone walls that look as though they were built a long time ago, by someone who believed in taking their time. Moss clings to the stones in soft patches, and tiny night flowers bloom along the edges, glowing faintly, as if borrowing a little of your lantern's warmth. You walk slowly, letting your steps fall into a natural rhythm. Not rushed, not dragging, just steady. The kind of walking you only do when you're not late for anything, not running from anything, not chasing anything. The kind of walking that lets thoughts rise and fall, like gentle waves rather than crashing tides. Your lantern seems content here. Its glow has softened, not dimmed, but settled, like a heartbeat that's found a calm pattern. Every now and then, when you look down, you notice how the light pools around your feet, making each step look more deliberate than you feel. The breeze on the hillside is cooler than in the village. It wraps around you like a soft scarf, bringing with it distant scents, pine from the forest beyond, a hint of earth, and the faint sweetness of some unknown flowering tree. The kind of air that feels clean enough to breathe deeply without thinking twice. You inhale, you exhale. Your shoulders drop another inch. As you approach a bend in the path, your lantern brightens, not with urgency, but like someone gently clearing their throat before sharing something important. You follow its glow around the curve, and there, perched atop a rise in the hill, you see a lone wooden bench overlooking the entire village. It's simple, barely more than planks and nails, but it's positioned perfectly, facing the lantern-lit streets below, the soft arches of the bridges, the faint outline of the workshop rooftops, and beyond them, the soft, dark sweep of forest and horizon. Your lantern pulses warmly, inviting you to sit. You obey. The bench creaks the way old benches do, but it's a friendly creak, a familiar one, the kind of sound that says, "Ah, it's been a while, but I remember you." You settle into the wood, your lantern resting gently beside you. Its light spills over your hands, your clothes, the curve of the hillside, and the village below. And when you look down at the village, you realize something. From up here, the lanterns don't look like decorations or curiosities or quaint little lights belonging to a sleepy town. They look like constellations, each one glowing quietly, each one holding a story, each one marking a hope someone once forgot. You breathe in softly. The view feels sacred in a way that requires silence, not because words would ruin it, but because there's nothing words could add. The lantern maker was right. This village is built by hopes, kept alive, restored, rekindled, passed gently between hands. And tonight, you're part of that constellation again. Your lantern glows brighter, reflecting gently in your eyes as you watch the village flicker beneath you. You feel a warm pull in your chest, that sense of belonging that doesn't depend on place, but on truth. You don't know how long you sit there. Time seems to melt away, losing its edges like wax near a flame. Minutes, hours, moments, they all blend, just you, your lantern, and the quiet hum of hope returning, and the quiet hum of hope returning. 80 Tandon, 85. Eventually, your lantern pulses again, subtle like a soft reminder. There is more. You lift it from the bench. Its glow follows the curve of your hand, lighting your way as you rise. You take one more long look at the village below, memorizing the picture, not because you fear it will disappear, but because it feels like something worth keeping. Then you turn away from the bench and follow the lantern's glow farther up the hill. The path narrows slightly, then widens again as the landscape opens. You reach a small plateau, flat, grassy, and quiet, surrounded by tall grasses that sway in the breeze like dancers, moving to music only they can hear. Your lantern flares suddenly, not alarmingly but purposefully. The grasses part, creating a natural archway that leads into a rounded, open clearing. Here, the air feels different, warmer, still, gentler, as if this place has been waiting especially for you. At the center of the clearing stands a stone platform, low to the ground, worn by weather and time. Though simple, it carries a sense of importance, like a stage where something meaningful has happened many times before. Your lantern glows brighter, illuminating the platform. You take a hesitant step closer. On top of the stone sits a single object, a small wooden box, beautifully carved, old but carefully kept. As you approach, the carvings become clearer. Delicate swirling patterns, tiny lantern motifs, shapes that resemble stars and rivers and roots. It feels familiar, though you don't remember ever seeing it before. Your lantern pulses. Soft encouragement. You kneel beside the platform and set your lantern down beside the box. The two lights merge, creating a warm golden aura around you. You lift the box gently. It's light. Too light, almost, for something carved so intricately. Your hands tremble slightly as you open the lid. Inside is a folded piece of parchment. You unfold it slowly, the lantern glow illuminating the ink. A few short lines fill the page, in handwriting that is undeniably yours. Not your current handwriting, not the hurried, practical shape it has now, but the handwriting you used years ago, the one from early journals, the one filled with softness and hopefulness and curves that felt like promises. The message is simple, just 3 words. Remember your light. Your breath catches. The parchment trembles in your hands. You blink once, twice, trying to steady your thoughts. But the emotions come anyway. Soft, heavy, deep. This wasn't written by the lantern maker, or by anyone else. This was written by you. A past version of you. A braver one. A younger one. One who believed in the possibility of hope, long before life taught you to be careful with it. Your lantern glows fiercely now, bathing the clearing in warm gold. It reflects off the parchment, off your hands, off the tears you didn't realize were forming. Remember your light. You whisper aloud. It feels like an echo, returning home after a very long journey. And in that moment, as the lantern glows brighter than it ever has, something inside you shifts. Not a dramatic transformation, not a sudden revelation. Something quieter, more honest. A door opens inside you, and the light you thought you'd lost steps through. You stay kneeling there for a while, parchment in hand, your lantern steady beside you. The clearing is silent, except for the soft rustle of grass in the breeze and the faint hum of your lantern, like the gentle purring of a creature finally at peace. Eventually, you fold the parchment carefully, slowly, reverently, and place it back inside the wooden box. You close the lid, your fingertips brushing the carved patterns with newfound tenderness. You realize the box wasn't meant to stay here. It was meant for you to carry. You pick it up. It feels heavier now, not physically, but symbolically, as though it's filled with all the versions of you who kept trying, even when you didn't think it mattered. Your lantern pulses warmly, casting swirling reflections on the box. You rise to your feet. The clearing around you looks different now, not because it changed, but because you have. The tall grasses sway as if bowing. The night air thickens with presence. The stars above seem closer. You take a step. Your lantern brightens. You take another. The lantern maker's voice echoes faintly in your memory. What you're looking for isn't lost, just quiet. You clutch the box gently and begin walking back toward the path. But something unusual happens as soon as you reach the archway of grasses. Your lantern lifts, on its own, hovering just a few inches above your hand. You gasp softly, startled but not afraid. The lantern floats, weightless, drifting a little ahead of you like a friendly firefly that decided to go solo. Then it emits a soft, melodic tone, a chime, almost like laughter. And suddenly, the floating lantern shoots forward along the path, leaving behind a ribbon of warm gold light that melts in the air like sugar dissolving. You stand frozen for a heartbeat. Then instinct kicks in. You run, not frantically, not fearfully, but with a kind of joyous urgency you haven't felt since you were a child, running through summer fields with no intention except motion. Your feet pound lightly on the earth. Your breath falls into a delicious rhythm. The night rushes by in cool gusts, and ahead of you, the lantern leads the way. Every time you get close, it bobs playfully just out of reach, casting its glow over the path so you never lose your footing. It weaves through the willows, glides over the moss, dashes past the fountain, and spins through the lantern-lit streets. Villagers peek out from windows, some smiling, some blinking sleepily, some whispering, a rekindled one, with fond recognition. You keep running, laughing breathlessly now, unable to help it. And then, just as you turn the final corner, your lantern slows. It lowers itself gently into your waiting hands, warm, steady, yours. You cradle it, chest heaving, a smile tugging at the corners of your lips despite the tears still clinging to your lashes. And in that moment, with your lantern glowing bright enough to outshine every other light in the village, you realize You're not following hope anymore. You're carrying it. The path leading up the hillside is narrow but welcoming, bordered by low stone walls that look as though they were built a long time ago by someone who believed in taking their time. Moss clings to the stones in soft patches, and tiny night flowers bloom along the edges, glowing faintly, as if borrowing a little of your lantern's warmth. You walk slowly, letting your steps fall into a natural rhythm, not rushed, not dragging, just steady. The kind of walking you only do when you're not late for anything, not running from anything, not chasing anything. The kind of walking that lets thoughts rise and fall, like gentle waves rather than crashing tides. Your lantern seems content here. Its glow has softened, not dimmed, but settled, like a heartbeat that's found a calm pattern. Every now and then, when you look down, you notice how the light pools around your feet, making each step look more deliberate than you feel. The breeze on the hillside is cooler than in the village. It wraps around you like a soft scarf, bringing with it distant scents, pine from the forest beyond, a hint of earth, and the faint sweetness of some unknown flowering tree. The kind of air that feels clean enough to breathe deeply without thinking twice. You inhale, you exhale. Your shoulders drop another inch. As you approach a bend in the path, your lantern brightens. Not with urgency, but like someone gently clearing their throat before sharing something important. You follow its glow around the curve, and there, perched atop a rise in the hill, you see a lone wooden bench overlooking the entire village. It's simple, barely more than planks and nails, but it's positioned perfectly, facing the lantern-lit streets below, the soft arches of the bridges, the faint outline of the workshop rooftops, and beyond them, the soft, dark sweep of forest and horizon. Your lantern pulses warmly, inviting you to sit. You obey. The bench creaks the way old benches do, but it's a friendly creak, a familiar one, the kind of sound that says, it's been a while, but I remember you. You settle into the wood, your lantern resting gently beside you. Its light spills over your hands, your clothes, the curve of the hillside, and the village below. And when you look down at the village, you realize something. From up here, the lanterns don't look like decorations or curiosities or quaint little lights belonging to a sleepy town. They look like constellations, each one glowing quietly, each one holding a story, each one marking a hope someone once forgot. You breathe in softly. The view feels sacred in a way that requires silence, not because words would ruin it, but because there's nothing words could add. The lantern maker was right. This village is built by hopes, kept alive, restored, rekindled, passed gently between hands. And tonight, you're part of that constellation again. Your lantern glows brighter, reflecting gently in your eyes as you watch the village flicker beneath you. You feel a warm pull in your chest, that sense of belonging that doesn't depend on place but on truth. You don't know how long you sit there. Time seems to melt away, losing its edges like wax near a flame. Minutes, hours, moments, they all blend, just you, your lantern, and the quiet hum of hope returning. Eventually, your lantern pulses again, subtle, like a soft reminder. There is more. You lift it from the bench. Its glow follows the curve of your hand, lighting your way as you rise. You take one more long look at the village below, memorizing the picture. Not because you fear it will disappear, but because it feels like something worth keeping. Then you turn away from the bench and follow the lantern's glow farther up the hill. The path narrows slightly, then widens again as the landscape opens. You reach a small plateau, flat, grassy, and quiet, surrounded by tall grasses that sway in the breeze like dancers moving to music only they can hear. Your lantern flares suddenly, not alarmingly, but purposefully. The grasses part, creating a natural archway that leads into a rounded, open clearing. Here, the air feels different, warmer, still, gentler, as if this place has been waiting especially for you. At the center of the clearing stands a stone platform, low to the ground, worn by weather and time. Though simple, it carries a sense of importance, like a stage where something meaningful has happened many times before. Your lantern glows brighter, illuminating the platform. You take a hesitant step closer. On top of the stone sits a single object, a small wooden box, beautifully carved, old but carefully kept. As you approach, the carvings become clearer. Delicate swirling patterns, tiny lantern motifs, shapes that resemble stars and rivers and roots. It feels familiar, though you don't remember ever seeing it before. Your lantern pulses. Soft encouragement. You kneel beside the platform and set your lantern down beside the box. The two lights merge, creating a warm, golden aura around you. You lift the box gently. It's light. Too light, almost, for something carved so intricately. Your hands tremble slightly as you open the lid. Inside is a folded piece of parchment. You unfold it slowly, the lantern glow illuminating the ink. A few short lines fill the page, in handwriting that is undeniably yours. Not your current handwriting, not the hurried, practical shape it has now, but the handwriting you used years ago, the one from early journals, the one filled with softness and hopefulness, and curves that felt like promises. The message is simple, just 3 words. Remember your light. Your breath catches. The parchment trembles in your hands. You blink once, twice, trying to steady your thoughts. But the emotions come anyway, soft, heavy, deep. This wasn't written by the lantern maker, or by anyone else. This was written by you, a past version of you, a braver one, a younger one who believed in the possibility of hope long before life taught you to be careful with it. Your lantern glows fiercely now, bathing the clearing in warm gold. It reflects off the parchment, off your hands, off the tears you didn't realize were forming. Remember your light, you whisper aloud. It feels like an echo, returning home after a very long journey. And in that moment, as the lantern glows brighter than it ever has, something inside you shifts. Not a dramatic transformation, not a sudden revelation. Something quieter, more honest. A door opens inside you, and the light you thought you'd lost steps through. You stay kneeling there for a while, parchment in hand, your lantern steady beside you. The clearing is silent, except for the soft rustle of grass in the breeze and the faint hum of your lantern, like the gentle purring of a creature finally at peace. Eventually, you fold the parchment carefully, slowly, reverently, and place it back inside the wooden box. You close the lid, your fingertips brushing the carved patterns with newfound tenderness. You realize the box wasn't meant to stay here. It was meant for you to carry. You pick it up. It feels heavier now, not physically, but symbolically, as though it's filled with all the versions of you who kept trying, even when you didn't think it mattered. Your lantern pulses warmly, casting swirling reflections on the box. You rise to your feet. The clearing around you looks different now, not because it changed, but because you have. The tall grasses sway as if bowing. The night air thickens with presence. The stars above seem closer. You take a step, Your lantern brightens. You take another. The lantern maker's voice echoes faintly in your memory. What you're looking for isn't lost, just quiet. You clutch the box gently and begin walking back toward the path. But something unusual happens as soon as you reach the archway of grasses. Your lantern lifts on its own, hovering just a few inches above your hand. You gasp softly, startled but not afraid. The lantern floats, weightless, drifting a little ahead of you like a friendly firefly that decided to go solo. Then it emits a soft, melodic tone, a chime, almost like laughter. And suddenly, the floating lantern shoots forward along the path, leaving behind a ribbon of warm gold light that melts in the air like sugar dissolving. You stand frozen for a heartbeat. Then instinct kicks in. You run. Not frantically, not fearfully, but with a kind of joyous urgency you haven't felt since you were a child, running through summer fields with no intention except motion. Your feet pound lightly on the earth. Your breath falls into a delicious rhythm. The night rushes by in cool gusts. And ahead of you, the lantern leads the way. Every time you get close, it bobs playfully just out of reach, casting its glow over the path so you never lose your footing. It weaves through the willows, glides over the moss, dashes past the fountain, and spins through the lantern-lit streets. Villagers peek out from windows, some smiling, some blinking sleepily, some whispering, a rekindled one, with fond recognition. You keep running, laughing breathlessly now, unable to help it, and then, just as you turn the final corner, your lantern slows. It lowers itself gently into your waiting hands. Warm, steady, yours. You cradle it, chest heaving, a smile tugging at the corners of your lips despite the tears still clinging to your lashes. And in that moment, with your lantern glowing bright enough to outshine every other light in the village, you realize you're not following hope anymore. You're carrying it. You stand there for a moment, lantern pressed gently to your chest, your breath still catching from the run. The village around you feels warmer than ever, alive, glowing, quietly celebrating. As if every lantern hanging above the cobblestone streets is nodding in approval, welcoming your light back into their constellation. Your heartbeat slows gradually. Your breathing steadies, and the lantern's glow evens out until it matches the rhythm inside you. For the first time, you realize something simple but profound. You don't feel like a guest here anymore. You feel like you belong. The lantern maker's words echo again in your mind. You'll learn to mend your hope yourself. Maybe this is what he meant, not fixing hope by force, but remembering it through movement, through discovery, through breath, through presence. You lift the lantern slightly, watching the light dance across your fingertips. It feels familiar now, an extension of your own warmth, rather than something foreign you're trying to hold on to. You look down at the wooden box in your other hand and run your thumb along its smooth carvings. You had forgotten how much younger you had once expected from the future, how lovingly, how boldly, how honestly you wrote those 3 words. Remember your light. The message feels less like a command now, and more like a reunion, a gentle one, a necessary one. You turn slowly, taking in the quiet night. The street is almost empty, save for a few villagers finishing late evening tasks. A woman sweeps her doorstep lazily. A baker replaces a lantern wick before heading inside. A cat curls on a windowsill, its tiny lantern-shaped collar glowing softly. Your lantern brightens when you face the northern end of the village, the one direction you haven't explored yet. A new path. Of course, you begin walking, the lantern guiding your steps with a warm, unwavering beam. Your movements feel different now, more grounded, more intentional, like each step is a promise rather than an obligation. As you walk, you notice that the houses here grow smaller and more spaced out. The glow from the village center fades softly behind you, replaced by the quieter light of nature. Distant fireflies, scattered stars, the glow of blooming night flowers that only grow in the outskirts. Your lantern hums, almost musically, as if pleased you're still following. Eventually, you reach the edge of the village proper. Beyond it, a gentle path curves between tall grasses and low bushes, winding up a slope you hadn't noticed before. Your lantern pulses once. Forward, so you follow. Up the slope, where the air grows cooler and the sounds of the village fade into a comforting hush. Up, where the stars feel brighter, closer, almost luminous enough to touch. At the crest of the hill, you pause. Your breath catches, not from exertion, but from awe. Before you lies a vast meadow, wide, open, silent, a natural bowl surrounded by soft hills. The grass moves in slow, waves under the night breeze, shimmering under the lantern's glow like silver water. And at the very center of the meadow stands a single object, a tall stone arch, old, worn, and faintly pulsing with the same warm golden glow as your lantern. Your lantern warms instantly in your hands. Almost eager, you walk toward it. The closer you get to the arch, the more the air changes. It thickens, not unpleasantly, but meaningfully, like the air inside a warm room after stepping in from the cold, like walking into a memory. Your lantern's glow synchronizes with the pulsing light in the stone. You feel each pulse not just as a sensation in your hands, but as a softness spreading through your chest. The arch is taller than you expected, over twice your height, but its presence doesn't feel imposing. It feels inviting, like a doorway to something familiar, something you didn't realize you missed. As you step close, your lantern brightens, and the carvings on the stone become clear. They're not just patterns, they're scenes, moments, symbols, a lantern, a quill, a tiny river flowing from an open book, hands reaching out, hands letting go, a house filled with warm light, a well, a workshop, a bench overlooking a village of small lantern constellations. All the places you visited tonight, all the truths you've reclaimed. The arch is a map of your journey so far. You reach out and brush your fingertips across the carvings. The stone hums lightly beneath your touch, responding in a way that feels alive. Not like a creature, but like memory itself. At the very center of the arch, carved deeper than anything else, is a single word. Begin. You swallow softly. Begin what? You whisper. Your lantern doesn't answer in words, but its glow shifts. It warms, it steadies. It becomes a soft flame of encouragement. You stand before the arch, the meadow silent, the stars watching patiently. You realize something then. This whole journey, the lantern maker, the well, the house, the workshop, has been guiding you toward this single truth. You are not meant to return to who you used to be. You are meant to begin again. Not from scratch, not from emptiness, but from knowing yourself more deeply than before. The lantern pulses one last time. It wants you to step through. You take a deep breath. Your heart beats calmly, steadily. You hold the lantern closer. And then you step into the arch. Not through it, because there is no other side, the way a doorway has. Instead, stepping into the arch is like stepping into warm light, like walking into a soft sunrise, like sinking gently into a memory and rising into a new possibility at the same time. The light envelops you, not blinding, not overwhelming, just warm, complete. You don't feel yourself walking anymore. You feel yourself remembering, integrating, breathing, becoming. Your lantern glows brighter, 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 until its warmth fills everything around you. And then, the light fades. You find yourself standing in the meadow again. But something is different. The lantern in your hands is no longer glowing. It's shining, a soft, steady radiance, not borrowed from the lantern maker, not conjured by magic, not reflecting anything. It's yours. You look down at the word carved into the arch. Begin. And for the first time, you understand. The meadow is quiet after the light dissolves, the night returning in gentle waves, crickets, distant owls, rustling grass. But you feel different, lighter, steadier, fuller, in a way that's hard to put into words. Your lantern continues to shine, not burning hot, not demanding attention, just radiating a calm, unwavering glow that seeps into your chest, your breath, your bones. It feels like peace, not the kind you wait for when life stops being busy, but the kind you can carry even when things are heavy, even when nothing is perfect, even when you're still figuring things out. You lift your lantern closer, studying the light. There's no swirl of forgotten hopes anymore, no trembling, searching glow, just a steady flame, alive, present, yours. You start walking back toward the village, lantern in hand. The path feels shorter now, as if the land itself bends gently to make your steps easier. When you reach the crest of the hill again, you glance back at the meadow. The arch stands quietly, its carved scenes faint in the moonlight. The grass sways. Fireflies drift lazily through the darkness. It's beautiful, but you don't feel pulled to stay, because for the first time in a long while, you feel at home in yourself. You walk down the slope, each lantern in the village glowing warmly as you approach, as if greeting a traveler who left, learned something, and returned with light of their own. When you reach the streets, a few villagers look up from their windows or doorsteps. Some nod, some smile. A few simply watch with quiet respect. No one speaks. They don't need to. Your lantern says everything. You move through the streets slowly, taking in every flicker of light, every scent of night flowers, every whisper of warm breeze. It feels like walking through the pages of your own story, one you didn't realize you'd been narrating your whole life. Eventually, you reach the lantern maker's shop again. The deep velvet blue door, the fogged windows, the faint golden glow inside. Your lantern warms gently, as if nudging you toward the door. You step forward. You place your free hand on the familiar knob. The door opens, and inside, the lantern maker is waiting. The lantern maker stands behind the counter, his sleeves rolled up as always, as if he's been in the middle of some quiet tinkering. But when you step into the shop, he looks up with a softness that feels almost like recognition, like he knew this exact moment was coming. His eyes drift to the lantern in your hands, the glow, the steadiness, the unmistakable shift from seeking light to being light. A slow smile spreads across his face, not triumphant, not proud in the flashy sense, but deeply, quietly pleased. "Well," he says, exhaling as though releasing a long-held breath, "look at you." You step farther into the shop, the familiar warmth wrapping around you. The lanterns hanging from the ceiling sway gently as you pass, their glows flickering in a respectful bow, like candles acknowledging the arrival of a flame that no longer needs carrying. "I think I understand now," you say softly. He nods. "Good. You were never meant to keep wandering the village forever. This place isn't a maze, you know." "Feels like one," you say with a small smile. "Only when you don't know what you're looking for." You look down at your lantern. Its steady radiance feels different in this room now, less like it's borrowing magic from the shop, and more like it belongs here alongside all the crafted hopes, shining confidently in their company. When I first came in here, you say quietly, I didn't think I had any hope left. He chuckles gently. People always think that. But hope is stubborn. Even when you forget it, it doesn't forget you. You take a breath, letting the truth of that settle in your chest. The shop feels larger tonight. Not physically, just more spacious inside your mind, as if the walls have shifted to make room for the person you've become in the last few hours. The lantern maker picks up a cloth and wipes his hands. So, he says, leaning on the counter, what did you find? You hesitate, surprised at how emotional the question feels. I found pieces, you say, of myself, of things I thought I grew out of, things I labeled impractical or childish or unrealistic. But they weren't wrong. They were just waiting. He nods slowly. Yes. And I found memories, old ones, wounds that weren't as dramatic as I thought, just forgotten, overwritten by routine. Routine does that, he says. It has a way of convincing you that it's more important than your soul. You laugh, soft and tired. And I found a message from myself. His eyes brighten. Ah, those are always the most powerful. It just said, remember your light. Simple things are the hardest to practice, he says. You look around the shop again, your gaze drifting over the lanterns, each glowing with their own forgotten hope, each alive with its owner's unspoken dreams. And I found that I still want things. Things I told myself I shouldn't want anymore. He tilts his head. And do they feel heavy, or do they feel like breath? You pause, feeling the truth settle in. Like breath, you whisper. The lantern maker smiles. Then they were never wrong. You swallow, emotions rising but soft, manageable. Your lantern glows in your hands like a warm heartbeat. After a moment of comfortable quiet, he steps out from behind the counter. He stands before you, not imposing, just steady, present. There's one more thing, he says. Your breath stills. Don't worry, he adds, almost teasing. No more quests, no more hills, no more dramatic revelations. Just something simple. He gestures toward your lantern. Hold it out. You lift the lantern between your hands, its glow illuminating your face, your chest, your trembling fingertips. He places his palms gently above and below the lantern, without touching it, almost as though feeling its warmth. Do you know what this means? He asks. You shake your head. He smiles softly. This isn't a borrowed light anymore. It's not a forgotten hope. It's not a wish waiting for permission. He lowers his voice. This is you. Your breath catches. Your lantern pulses, warm and sure. You don't need a guide anymore, he says. You don't need this village to remind you who you are. He steps back. The light you found? You carry it home with you. And for the first time, you realize he's right. Your lantern is no longer a symbol of something lost. It's a symbol of something reclaimed. The night air meets you softly as you step outside. The village is quieter than ever now. Lights lowered, doors closed, windows dim. Even the fountain murmurs more softly, as though sensing that this part of the journey requires silence. You pause on the threshold, the deep blue door closing behind you with a sound like a sigh. For a moment, you simply stand there, lantern in one hand, key in the other, heart steady, mind quieter than it has been in years. You begin walking down the cobblestone street one final time. Every lantern overhead seems to dip its light as you pass. Soft nods of farewell, or perhaps gentle acknowledgments of completion. The once mysterious shadows now look familiar, friendly, like old companions who never meant you harm. As you cross the village square, the fountain glows faintly in your lantern's reflection. You stop for just a moment, watching the water catch your light and shimmer with it. The sight is simple, yet profoundly grounding. You walk past the tailor's shop, the bakery, the bookstore, with the ivy climbing up its sign. Every building feels like a small farewell. Every window like a quiet blessing. Finally, you reach the gate leading out of the village, the one you don't remember entering through. Your lantern brightens, casting a warm, guiding circle around the wooden frame. You look back once. The village glows softly behind you, as if lit from within, safe, whole, alive. But it no longer feels like a place you're leaving. It feels like a place you're carrying. You step through the gate. The world beyond is not the meadow or hillside or forest. It's the familiar outline of your life, the one you paused to rest from before stepping into this story. But something is different. You feel different. The lantern in your hand shines steadily, not as a symbol of escape, but as a reminder of return. And the key in your other hand grows warm, faint, waiting. Somewhere ahead lies a door, a real one, a metaphorical one, a forgotten one. And when you find it, the lantern will tell you. You inhale, you exhale. You take the first step forward. Your lantern glows, steady, bright, yours, and the path ahead unfolds gently in its light. You have begun. The familiar world unfolds gently around you as you walk, lantern in hand. It's the same world you left hours ago, same streets, same sounds, same textures of your life. But there's a new softness to it, as if the edges have blurred just enough to make room for the light you're carrying. The lantern glows steadily, illuminating small details you'd normally pass without noticing. A crack in the sidewalk you've stepped over 1,000 times. A tree you always meant to pay attention to but never did. A window with warm light behind it, the silhouette of someone making tea. Every ordinary thing looks touched by a quiet magic. Or maybe you're seeing clearly for the first time in a very long while. Your steps are slow, not hesitant, but mindful. You're not rushing toward anything. You're not rushing away from anything. You're simply walking, the way you did at the beginning of the story. Except now, you're not carrying weight. You're carrying warmth. The wooden box rests gently in your other hand. The key inside taps softly with each step, a comforting reminder that something awaits, something real, something quietly important. The path ahead looks exactly the same as you remember it. And yet, watching the lantern light spill over it, you realize it's a different path now, not because the world changed, but because you have. A soft breeze brushes against your face, carrying with it a hint of cool night air and the familiar scent of home. You stop walking for a moment, letting the sensation settle into your senses. You notice something subtle. The lantern's glow shifts slightly. Not dimming, not brightening, just adjusting, as if tuning itself to the world around you. It doesn't need to shine with the intensity it did in the village. Here, in the quiet of your real life, its light becomes gentler, a companion rather than a guide. You take a deep breath, feeling the peace of that realization. You're not being led anymore. You're simply being accompanied. You continue on. The night around you is hushed, but not empty. Somewhere in the distance, a car drives by with soft tires on asphalt. A dog barks once, bored but alert. A street lamp flickers as if deciding whether to stay awake. Life continues, and you walk calmly within it, lantern light carrying you forward with quiet confidence. Your thoughts drift, not anxious, not spiraling, just floating like soft leaves on a gentle stream. You think about the well, the workshop, the arch, the message you wrote to yourself long ago. Remember your light. You touch the lantern with your thumb, and it warms instantly, like a reminder that the journey didn't give you something new. It returned something you always had. You smile softly, and the night seems to smile back. The road ahead leads you toward a familiar corner, the one you turn almost every day without thinking. But tonight, when you reach it, your lantern brightens in a way that gently surprises you. You pause. The wooden box in your hand grows warm through the blue cloth, and the key shifts inside, almost expectant. Your lantern glows, casting a soft golden arc toward the street branching off to the right. A street you rarely take. A street you often overlook because it leads nowhere important. Or so you always thought. But tonight, the lantern leads you there. You hesitate, not out of fear, but out of awe. It feels like stepping into a forgotten chapter of your own life. You follow the lantern's direction. Your steps are quiet, your breath slow. The houses along this street appear taller, their windows glowing with muted yellow light. Curtains flutter lazily in the breeze, as if the night itself is breathing through them. With each step, the lantern brightens, not urgently, just steadily, confidently. As you approach the end of the street, something unexpected happens. You feel a tug, not physical, emotional, a subtle pull in your chest, like a recognition you haven't yet named. The lantern glows brighter. You step forward, and there it is. A doorway, plain, ordinary, a bit worn at the edges, and yet your breath catches. You know this place, not consciously perhaps, not logically, but with the deep, wordless certainty of the soul. This is the door the key belongs to. You step closer, your hand tightening around the wooden box. The house is quiet. No movement inside, no voices, no lights, except a single dim glow from a hallway lamp. You raise your lantern slightly, and the door's handle gleams softly in response. You kneel and open the wooden box. The key rests inside, glowing faintly in the lantern's warm light. Your fingers tremble, not from fear, but from the gravity of the moment. This is the door inside you, the door you closed a long time ago, the door you've been walking toward since the very beginning of this journey. You take the key gently between your fingers. It warms, humming with life. You stand. You exhale slowly, and you slide the key into the lock. It fits perfectly. The key turns with almost no effort. A soft click, a small release, a quiet invitation. The door swings open, and what you see inside is not dramatic, not flooded with golden light, not filled with mystical symbols or impossible wonders. It's a room, your room, one you once used and slowly abandoned, one you forgot how to enter because life piled too many things in front of it. The air smells faintly of old paper, warm dust, and something gentle, like memories that haven't been touched in years. Your lantern brightens, illuminating the space. There's a desk, a shelf of books, notebooks stacked in uneven piles, a corkboard with yellowed notes pinned to it, a mug with a pencil still inside, a chair waiting under a thin layer of dust. This isn't a magical room created by the village. It's a room in your own life, your actual life, your real world, where your hopes once lived before you let them go. Quiet. You step across the threshold, lantern guiding you. The room welcomes you, not dramatically, not with fanfare, but with a soft familiarity. You walk to the desk, run your fingertips over its surface, feel the slight grain of the wood beneath the dust. It's real. It always was. Your lantern settles on the desk, shining warmly across the pages, the pens, the long-forgotten ideas. You sit, and something inside you settles with you. The lantern glows as steadily as your heartbeat. You open a notebook. The first page is blank, waiting, patient, unjudging. Your lantern pulses once. Soft, encouraging. You lift a pen, and before you write anything, you close your eyes and breathe in. Slow, deep, full. You feel the room around you. Your room, filling with warmth. You feel the journey behind you. The village, the well, the arch, settling into the quietest parts of your memory. You feel the light inside the lantern, your light, ready to shape whatever comes next. And then, you write. Not perfectly, not profoundly, not with any pressure to create a masterpiece. You write the way you breathe, naturally, softly, honestly. As the words form, the lantern glows brighter. The room feels less like a forgotten space and more like a homecoming. You write until the page fills, then the next, and the next. Not fast, not slow, just steady. And with every word, you feel something rise. Something warm, something alive. Something that was quiet for a long time, but never gone. Hope. Your hope. Returning to your hands. You stop writing when your hand grows tired, but not because the feeling stops. The lantern glows on the desk, illuminating your work, casting soft golden light against the walls of the room you've reclaimed. You lean back in your chair. You breathe. And for the first time in what feels like years, you feel complete. Not finished, not perfected, not fixed, just whole. You close the notebook gently, place the pen on top, and rest your hand on the lantern's warm frame. It shines steadily. Not guiding now, not pulling, just being, just like you. As your eyelids grow heavy, as the quiet of night settles deeper around you, as the journey folds itself tenderly into memory, the lantern dims slightly, softens, becomes a whisper of gold. A companion for rest, a companion for beginning again tomorrow. And as you settle into stillness, your light remains. Warm, steady, yours. Thank you for listening to Mindtales Sleep Stories. If you enjoyed this story, please consider giving it a thumbs up, subscribing, and sharing it with someone who needs a peaceful night.